And I will start the slideshow. So welcome everyone to this virtual community meeting to discuss NPA 2023-0005.01. If you haven't done so already, please let us know who is here by typing your name in the chat box. And if you're associated with an organization, if you could include that as well. Please mute your microphone if you're joining by phone, and please turn off your video if you're participating online to save bandwidth. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the publicinput.com/neighborhood plan amendment cases website. If you do not want your image viewed publicly, please turn off your camera. So as you know, this property is in the Montopolis neighborhood planning area. The plan amendment case numbers NPA 2023-0005.01. The meeting facilitator tonight is Mark Walters. My name is Maureen Meredith. I am the plan amendment case manager, and this is my contact information. Cynthia Hodry is the zoning case manager, and this is her contact information. The agenda tonight, I'll go over basic case information, guidelines for group discussion, how to participate in this process, why is there a plan amendment application, what is a future land use map. After my presentation, Victoria Hasse, the applicant's agent, will do a presentation, and then we will open the meeting to Q&A. There's a lot of property addresses with this case. It is 6202, 6204 Caddy Street, 1600 through 1614 Montopolis Drive, and 6205 through 6215 Fairway Street. It's 1.91 acres. Again, the case number is NPA 2023-0005.01. Project name is Montopolis Fairway Mixed Use. The request is to change the future land use map from single family and civic to mixed use land use. The associated zoning case number is C14-2024-0015. The zoning request is to change the zoning from SF3NP Family Residence District Neighborhood Plan and GRNP Community Commercial District Neighborhood Plan to CSMUVNP General Commercial Services District Mixed Use Combining District Vertical Mixed Use Building Combining District Neighborhood Plan. Property owner applicant is Third Angle Developments LLC. The agent is Victoria Hasse from Thrower Design. Guidelines for group discussion. Please feel free to type your questions into the chat at any time during this meeting. And after staff and applicant presentations, if you'd like to speak, you can raise your hand by clicking the hand symbol in the menu bar. If we get any telephone participants, they'll be able to speak during the Q&A session as well. Attendees will be muted upon arrival and through the staff and applicant presentations. Then we will open the floor to answer any questions in the chat or by attendees raising their hands. Similar questions may be grouped and answered together, and we ask again that you mute your microphone if you're not speaking. If you're having connection issues, please turn off your video until you're called upon to ask your questions, and we ask that you be respectful to each other during this discussion. Again, the meeting is being recorded and will be posted to this website. You can email me or Cynthia with any questions or comments that you have. If you provide any written comments, they'll be included in the staff case report. And if you live within 500 feet, you have probably got the public hearing notice in the mail. The plan amendment case has been notified. It has been postponed to the May 28th Planning Commission hearing date. The zoning case will be notified for that case, and I presume the cases will be ready for Planning Commission action at that time. If you wanted comments to be included in the staff case reports for May 28th, we'll need them by 5 o'clock on May 22nd. If we get it after that date and time, they'll be submitted as late backup, but they will not be included in the staff case reports. So why is there a plan amendment application? So neighborhood plans are adopted by City Council as amendments to the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan. and city charter require zoning changes to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Most neighborhood plan amendments are changes to a future land use map, also called a FLUM, and most have an associated zoning application. So this map shows the areas in blue that have city council approved neighborhood plans. All the planning areas have a plan document that has a vision and goals of the planning area, and most of which also has a future land use map. The future land use map has colors that represent broad land uses. For example, on this property, it has yellow land use and blue land use for civic. The yellow is single family, and the proposed is for mixed use. This is a zoomed in part of the future land use map that shows the yellow and blue future land use. And this is the aerial photo that shows, again, the blue land use on that top right lot. The rest of the property has the single family. This map shows the zoning on the property, which is GRNP on that top right corner lot and SF3 NP on the rest of the lots. Google Map screenshot to just show some of the surrounding uses. This is the growth concept map from the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan. And these colors represent regional centers, town centers, neighborhood centers, and also activity corridors. So this map shows the property is within the Riverside Station's town center and also just north of East Riverside corridor, which is a activity corridor. This shows the property in proximity to public transportation. You see some running along Montopolis Boulevard, East Riverside Drive, and also Grove. So that ends my presentation, and Tori can start hers after I've stopped sharing my screen. Oh, there.
All right. My name is Victoria Hasse. I'm with Thrower Design, and I am the applicant agent representing the property owners of the collective properties. There are a few different property owners for this number of properties. And as Maureen said, we're here asking for an amendment to the future land use map. That amendment is to ask for mixed use for all of the parcels. One parcel is civic today here, and there was at one point a strip center, a small strip center building there, but currently there's nothing but a leftover concrete slab from what was there once upon a time. There's also an associated rezoning with this. And Maureen, something that I noticed to make a correction, the rezoning that we initially filed was to ask for CS, MU, V, and P, but we have amended the application and are now asking for CS, DB 90, and P. DB 90 will allow for this site to achieve a greater number of units, and with that, some of income restricted affordable units as well. So, sorry, I apologize. Hold on 1 second. So as Maureen was saying, the site is pretty close to the East Riverside corridor and the Imagine Austin Activity Center that runs along Riverside. It's also, if I zoom out here, it's about a little more than a quarter of a mile to the Montopolis Recreation Center here, and about a quarter of a mile to the intersection of Montopolis and East Riverside Drive, which is where the proposed stop for the blue line will be once that comes. So all that to say, it's a property that's situated in a location that is beneficial to gaining density in that it's close to transit. There's existing transit that's nearby. There's a more robust transit system that is planned within the future that runs along East Riverside Drive. And there's great access within walking distance to a variety of services now. And I expect maybe a greater variety of services in the future, but all within walking distance, meaning there's less reliance on a car for someone who may not want to or can't afford to have a car. So that is the crux of why we're asking for this zoning here at this location. And what I wanted to point out is that, I know there's a lot of concern about displacement with newer projects that are coming online, and there certainly that is happening. And I know there's various ideas about how to keep that from happening, but the properties that are proposed for this development don't currently have development on them today. And what does come forward with this project is not going to increase the property value of the single family lands surrounding, as that, those are not comparable in terms of the Travis County Appraisal District appraisals. So a new development here would not have that direct impact on the single family properties in this area. On the flip side, if these properties were to keep their zoning and future land use designations that they have today, they could be developed with single family homes, but those single family homes would be directly comparable to the existing homes in the area and have a direct impact on property tax values and appraisals. So we think it's a good project, a good site to accommodate some additional density. It is along Montopolis Drive, which is a major throughway connecting Riverside to 183. And I'm here to answer any questions that anyone has. I'm here to listen to concerns. This is a site that does not have a developer on board at this time. And so we don't have specific details, but it's also a good time to hear things that the neighborhood and the community needs. And that way, if at all possible, we can try to, we can have that information to incorporate into what does come in the future. So I'll turn it back over to you, Maureen, and would love to hear from the neighborhood.
Thank you, Victoria. This is Mark Walters. I'll be facilitating tonight's meeting, and we have a couple people on the phone. With the person with the 1215 phone number, do you have a question or comment? 215-384.
No, sorry, not at this time.
And the other person on the phone that is 512-689, do you have any comments or questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. And then I have a first name, Charles. Do you have any comments or questions of the applicant's agent at this time?
Hi, Mark. Yes, I do. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, so just what specific plans are in place to address just potential traffic congestion? Because it's already, because I live in the neighborhood, so it's already quite hectic. And considering this is going to be multifamily and commercial, I imagine there's going to be quite an impact. So what plans or analysis has been done to address the potential traffic congestion?
Yeah, that's very, very valid concern and question. So With this application being amended to include the DB90 overlay, we recently submitted a new TIA determination worksheet to the Austin. I continue to want to call them Austin Transportation Department, but they're now Transportation Public Works. So we submitted that with a general idea of what the property could accommodate in terms of number of units and development and square feet. And they have informed us that a neighborhood traffic analysis is something that is going to be required. And this is something that we just received this from transportation staff yesterday. So I don't know if these cases will be ready to go on May 28th because of that. So we will have to go out and do some traffic data collection. And then once that data is collected, that will be submitted to the city's transportation department. And then they will look at that data and the operating levels of what's going on in the area currently. And from that, they will identify things that whatever project comes forward will have to do to mitigate the traffic that will be generated from this development. Now, the neighborhood traffic analysis is going to be it's not going to be as detailed in terms of the asks or the requests, but it'll give us a good idea and give some information about what's going to be required. And then when a site plan actually gets filed, when a project is fully designed and submitted to the city through a site plan, then the transportation department will look at that again and in greater detail. And that's when, there could be potential big asks that come from the city in order to allow this development to occur here. So I can't say the studies haven't been done yet, but we are going to be partnering with traffic data collection to obtain the data in the area. And, so the information really is forthcoming in terms of what that could look like in terms of mitigations and whatnot. So I don't think that we will, I'm doubtful that these cases will be able to move forward. And Maureen, I apologize that I didn't coordinate that with you, but like I said, this just came through from transportation yesterday. So yeah, so it'll take some time to get the data collected, submitted to the city. Then city staff's going to have time to review all of that before these cases can move forward to commission and council.
So people in the meeting who aren't familiar, TIA stands for Transportation Impact Analysis. So, and there's two levels, one for different types of projects, depending on what kind of street you're on. So, Charles, do you have any other questions?
I do.
I'm just going down the list of participants here, and I'll get to the next one when you're done.
Okay. Just, has there been an analysis on the potential impact of the proposed development on crime rates in the area, especially considering the existing high crime levels?
No. No. I'm not sure what that would look like, or how you would do analysis of that. I can say that currently, with the properties not having any development on them, there's a potential that, there's less people with eyes on the street. there's more space for things to occur, you know, kind of empty space for things to, unwanted things to occur. So my guess would be that, I mean, you know, a development that comes here is not necessarily going to increase the crime rate, but I can't say I'm not familiar with crime studies. So, but it is interesting to know that, you know, if you live in the neighborhood and you're saying that there's a lot of crime over here, I'm not familiar with the crime rates in the area. So it's good information to know and have. But there's not been a crime study done on this. No.
Okay.
Any others? And we go to the next person. Charles? Do you have any other questions, sir?
Oh, I do, but I want to give folks
Okay, fair enough.
opportunity
Well,
to ask.
okay. I'll go next to Edward Deese. Do you have any questions or comments, Edward?
Actually, this is Teresa. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can, Teresa. Sorry.
Okay. I don't think I have any questions, but if anybody has any additional information about the crime rates in that area, I would love to hear it. I wouldn't even know how to get a hold of it. But I don't have any questions about the development right now.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the phone people on the phone. The phone numbers, first 6 digits, 215-384. You have any questions or comments?
No, thank you. Not at this time.
Okay, and the next person on the phone, first 6 digits, 512-689.
Yes, I was wondering, my question is, what's the number of units that you are thinking about putting on this property?
So, you know, not having done a full site plan analysis of what, you know, the potential yield could be, we've looked at it in a summary perspective, and we anticipate, and I'm not saying this is how many units will go in, but we anticipate that the property combined it's almost 2 acres, and we anticipate that it could accommodate somewhere in the realm of 180 dwelling units. And I don't know, like I said, that's a very general number based off of the land area, based off of what we know the setbacks would be, what we know, the heights could be, how compatibility would impact this project. And so what we anticipate is that the property could achieve as many as 180. But by the time a full design comes forward, it may be less than that. I don't think it would be any more. But I'm putting that number out there, but I just want it to be understood that that's just a very general number of what we guesstimate at this time.
So how many floors do you anticipate, or do you think will, or how high would this building be?
So let's see. Let me see if I have that information. We would anticipate, so the project with frontage closest to Montopolis, we would anticipate that could be as high as 5 stories. And then because there is single family as you move kind of west towards Brassey Street, the project would scale down a bit, and to be able to meet compatibility requirements and the like. So, but we anticipate 5 stories along the Montopolis frontage.
How close can these buildings be to the existing homes? Because there are 3 existing homes. I don't understand what the layout would be. Or how many are they able to, or how far can they be from these existing homes?
So currently, compatibility requires that there not be any buildings closer than 25 feet from a single family property line that's shared, that's adjacent. So there would be at least 25 feet with it where there can't be a building. But I suspect that, you know, the building front, like the frontage of this building is going to want to be, you know, it makes most sense to push that towards, you know, the facing and fronting on Montopolis. And so probably the entry to parking would be more towards the backside. So that, you know, having space for an actual drive to get to the parking. And I suspect that this is very likely to be subgrade parking or parking garage below, right? But that would make most sense to accommodate that on the back side of the building closest to residential. So that would then push the building itself further away from the residential properties. But compatibility requires that there's at least 25 feet of separation between building and single family lot. So it's the lot line, not the actual house, but the lot line of the single family property. So 25 feet from that.
And also
I-
just, oh, sorry, just to go really quick, if you don't mind, ma'am. A compatibility, for those who aren't familiar with it, are sets of regulations that state how far back a property can be when adjacent to a single family use or a single family zone, how close it can be, as well as how tall it can be as it gets further away or gets closer to those single family uses or zones.
Can you repeat that?
Sure. Compatibility says, like Victoria said, if the first 25 feet, you can't have a building between a single family use, a house, or a single family, excuse me, zone. And then from there, you can have a building of so tall. The further away you get from that single family use or zoning, the building can get a little taller, a little taller, and a little taller.
Okay.
So, ma'am, I'm sorry I interrupted you. You had another question.
No. Go ahead. You can go with someone else at this point.
Okay, then we'd go circle back to.
I take that
course.
back. So
Go ahead.
I understood. I think it was Victoria to say that would not affect our property taxes. I don't. How do you know that?
Because the way the Travis County Appraisal District assesses property taxes is based off of similar use. And so they're not going to compare the property taxes of a multifamily or mixed use development to that of a single family property, because they're drastically different. They're not the same kinds of development. Now, like, you know, conversely, like I said, if there are single family houses built on that are there today, those are a direct comparison because they're single family and single family, right? And so whatever those properties would be sold for in the end, Travis County would look at that at the sales price, and they would use that sales price to then determine what is the value of the other single family properties in the area. And from that, they then determine what the what the taxes are, right? So they can't compare a multifamily or mixed use project with a single family because they're two drastically different properties and uses. So it wouldn't be a direct impact on the property taxes and assessing the property taxes of the single family properties in the area.
So it's more of an apples to apples comparison for purposes of assessing the value.
Yeah, and if they were to compare this proposed project with single family, that's like comparing an apple to, a grapefruit or something. Very, very different.
Mhm. Okay,
So do you have any other questions, ma'am?
not at this time.
Okay. So Charles, here's your opportunity to ask any more questions or make a comment.
Yeah, just a comment and then a question. I think comment addressing the crime piece. I think it's pretty safe to say that, there's a direct correlation to population density and higher crime rates. And the 78741 zip code does have a higher crime rate compared to the neighboring zip codes. That's publicly available data. We live it every day. We hear it. So to no surprise. So that's why I asked the question initially, how this multi-use project would negatively impact the rising crime rates in the area. So that's the comment regarding the crime rate. And then the question that I had is just regarding traffic congestion. It's the addition of the multifamily residents, and considering this is going to be a large project, I imagine it's going to lead to increased traffic, and the parking area on these smaller streets, I can imagine, will be an issue. So how is that going to be addressed?
Well, the project, it is proposed while there isn't a developer at this time for this kind of project. Market tells us that, the market of housing and development and multifamily and mixed use projects tells us that, if you don't provide parking, then it's likely that your development won't be successful. And so even though the city did away with parking requirements, other than ADA accessible parking, projects are still building parking because, like I said, without parking, there's a good chance that your project's not going to survive. Because Austin, as much as I wish I could say otherwise, Austin is still a very, very much an automobile-oriented city, and hopeful that will change with all of the transit planning that's occurring. But all that to say, it's still very auto-centric, and any development that goes in here, I suspect, will provide parking on, within the development. Now, you are correct that, streets are public, and unless there's a restriction for parking, they are places where people can park. They're allowed to park, and that could be, anyone from this development or any person that's there visiting someone that lives in a single family house, or, so streets are public places, and people can park there. But this project, whatever this project is that moves forward, I would be extremely shocked if it didn't provide a good amount of parking, because that's typically what ensures a level of success with these kinds of developments at this time. So.
Hey, Charles, do you have any other questions? Comments?
Yeah, I guess just I think it's related to maybe the graph that was maybe shown just regarding the height. Is there any sort of like regulations regarding privacy from like neighboring properties and building height and overlooking windows? Is that a consideration just regarding privacy between the multi-unit building and the smaller homes that'll be directly in front of it?
Well, I mean, compatibility is, in large part is the regulation, right? That addresses that. There isn't anything other than that, other than there is a requirement that commercial developments have to screen put up privacy screening between non-commercial properties. So usually that's done through like privacy fences in today's code, right? I don't know what changes could be coming, but you know, it's usually done through vegetative buffers and privacy fences. But in terms of like protecting privacy as you increase height, there's no specific regulations that address that. But I will say, even like most of the properties in this area are 1 story. There might be some 2 stories. I think I see some newer 2 stories that are along Brassy from the aerial image that I'm looking at. But even today, under you know, even if these properties stay SF3 zoned, you know, SF3 can accommodate up to 2.5 stories and 35 feet. And so fences are only allowed at a maximum of 6 feet or 8 feet if you can get a Board of Adjustment variance for an 8-foot fence. So even with today's zoning of SF3, there is still the potential that someone could be on a 2nd floor of, you know, an adjacent single family house and still look into the backyard of their neighbor. That happens all the time. So there's no like specific code that I'm aware of that, you know, that addresses that. But compatibility does address it to a degree in that it requires this 25-foot setback when immediately adjacent to the single family homes. So
not not directly related to privacy. The lighting is also restricted from a commercial site to adjacent properties. You can't have certain amount of light can't bleed over into your neighbor's yard.
yeah, they call that light pollution.
Yeah. So does anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, Charles, go to Edward. Do you have any more comments? Okay, Charles, just let me see if Edward has anything, and I'll jump back to you.
Okay.
I mean, Teresa,
No,
not Edward. Teresa.
That's okay. That's okay. My husband. We're good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Edward. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was me, Teresa.
Whoever had their hand up.
No, I didn't mean to. If I did, I apologize.
Okay, doesn't matter. So if nobody else has any questions or comments.
Sorry, Mark, that was me. Charles, I had raised my hand. I just have one last question. I don't know, Mark or Maureen, you're going to get into this. But this is actually my first community meeting, so I'm not entirely sure what the next steps are.
We'll go over that.
Oh, you will? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. That's the next part of the meeting is next steps, what, and so we can jump right into that. Maureen, do you want to put up your contact information and let the folks know what the next steps in the process and how they can participate in those steps?
Yes, let me pull it up. Okay, so here is my contact information and Cynthia's contact information. So based on what Victoria just said about with the TIA and that the cases will probably not be ready for May 28th, here's my contact information if y'all want to reach out to me for any updates on whether or not the cases end up being ready for May 28th or not, and if we have a prospective postponement date if they're not at this time. If the cases are not ready for May 28th, they'll have to be postponed to a future date, and I don't have that yet. So if y'all want to write down my email, it was also in the virtual community meeting notice, had my email and phone number. So y'all can reach out to me, and I can give you any update I have in probably about a week or so. So what will happen next is I will meet with my team. We'll make a recommendation on the FLUM request. I'll report back to them what I heard at this meeting. I'll send that request to the zoning team. They'll make a recommendation on the proposed zoning. And as the cases are ready for planning commission action, we'll have a full case report. At that time, all the comments that we receive will be included in the staff case report. We don't include comments if we just have a postponement memo. So again, if it's not ready for planning commission action on May 28th, it'll just be a postponement memo and we don't include comments at that time. So again, just reach out to me and Cynthia and we'll keep you posted on any prospective dates for these cases.
And the next step after the planning commission would be the city council. And
Right.
Yes.
So if it goes, if it has action at planning commission, if they make a recommendation, it'll be scheduled for city council and a new public hearing notice will go out then. We don't have a prospective city council date yet.
Okay. So Victoria, do you have any closing comments before we can end the meeting a little early? We can get back to our regularly scheduled lives.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that if, anyone can reach out to me if more questions come about or additional concerns that you want to make us aware of, please reach out to me. I'm available by cell phone. I'm available through email, and you can get all of my contact information from Maureen or from Cynthia. And I'd be happy to talk to anyone and address any concerns that I can. So.
And if you would let your neighbors know, a little reminder, this will be available tomorrow at the Speak Up webpage where you logged on to come to this meeting. So if anybody who couldn't make it tonight has any questions, they can watch this meeting and find out what's, just get a sense of what's going on. And with that, unless anybody has any final questions, we can end the meeting and we can get back to our lives. So I'd like to thank you for coming out this evening to find out about this case.
Thanks, Mark and Maureen.
Thank you.
Everyone.
You're quite welcome.